cosmic greetings, beloved lovers of life, love, light, and liberation. Welcome to the Seed People Spotlight, where I introduce you to some of the marvelous and incredibly diverse people who are associated with or part of the Turning of the Ages Mystery School, which you can find all about at turningoftheages.com. I'm your host, Naraya, and I am here today with the amazing and really fascinating Ville Viinikka. Am I pronouncing this right, Ville?
Yeah, good enough. Good enough.
There's always session when we meet with Ville on how to pronounce the name, so I'm doing my best. Ville has been certified foundationally within the school as a certified astrologer, TOTAMS Astrologer, last year. And he is also an approved mentor for other students who are currently on the foundational certification path. So I want to point this out here because this might be particularly attractive for students in Europe, which we have an increasing number of, as it is more suitable with different time zones. So for everyone, Ville is a mentor as well who can help you out if you're on the studying path. But anyhow, Ville, welcome to this episode of the Seed People Spotlight. You're calling in all the way from Finland. So hello.
Hello to you, and hello to all listeners, and love to be here.
That's wonderful. That's really great. As far as I remember that, so I met you where you had your graduation in Oracle, Arizona in last year, 2023, correct? Yes.
Yes.
I think so. Which was really wonderful. And then you were recently also up with us in Kalanesh for the moonwalk. And so tell us a bit more about yourself. If I remember that correctly, you also are a father of 4 and a family man. You run a very busy psychotherapy practice. And on top of that, you now acquired this astrological astrological skill set. And do you include that into your into the work with your clients as well?
Okay, so there were many questions.
Yes,
So
that's me.
So let me start from somewhere. So yes, I am Finnish. I have lived in Finland for all my life, and I do have 4 children. So that's a big part of my life also, and I am a Gemini rising by natal chart, so that means my life purpose is to live a busy life. So I've done my best on that, and I have been I could say Daniel often says that during this turning of the ages, it's possible to live like several lives during one lifetime.
Tell me all about it. Yeah, I know. I'm a Gemini Venus, so my busyness also relies on, or is in living out many possibilities, almost like you say, many lifetimes, all kind of in one. It's an interesting experience, but carry on.
Yeah, and that has really been my experience to a very significant degree. So I have been involved in many very different kinds of things. So if I give a short like a description of how my life has gone, I'm now 47, turning 48 in October. So I was born in a very, I could say, very pretty average Finnish family, and I had a normal Finnish childhood and upbringing. The only significant difference was that our family was part of a Pentecostal congregation, so that's something that's quite unusual in Finland. Most people in Finland belong to the Lutheran Church and are not very religious, and Finland is actually a fairly secular society. So that was something that was coloring my childhood. I also have a astrological lineage that is in the language of this school. It's Pisces job in Sagittarius tribe. So that is a very renunciate kind of lineage, and I feel that growing up in a family where religion was an important part of the family life is part of that lineage quite naturally. So from the start, I have been kind of pulled in different directions. Like there was this religious side of things that was steering me in certain ways, and then I would say almost all my friends were from not a religious background, so there was a strong pull in other directions, and from very little age I learned to kind of live between different worlds. So that's one of the Gemini kind of things also, that you can kind of shapeshift into different roles and different kind of like almost being a different person in different contexts, and in an authentic way. Really, it's not like living a lie, but it's the kind of Gemini talent to be present authentically in different kinds of roles and different kinds of situations. So that was an important part of my childhood, and on the verge of adulthood, I had these phases where I was drawn more to the secular side and giving up all the religious stuff, and then I came back into the religion, and there was this phase at around age 19, 20, where I became like really religious, and I also studied different things. The first thing I went to after high school was I was like playing classical guitar from age 6, and that became like a very central thing in my life in the teenage, and then I continued for professional studies for a couple of years. But then it changed, and I went to study theology in
But are you still playing classical guitar nowadays, Ville?
Well, I have not been playing very much in recent years. I have mostly the musician side of me. I have mostly been living through singing in a choir. I have sang in many different choirs, and I'm currently in a choir that is like you cannot say it's well all the singers are very very experienced singers, so it's kind of very high quality choir, and we have one of the best conductors in Finland, our conductor, so it gives the challenge and the possibility to get to also be a musician at times and part of a group performing in very nice places. So
oh, lovely. No, I was digging in on the guitar because obviously, you know, I would have said, oh, if you're still playing that, bring it along when we next meet anywhere in the world for a TOTAMS event, because really music is such a wonderful part also of our in-person events. You know, there's a lot of jamming going on and sitting around a fireside, possibly with some instruments. So
yeah, I completely agree. So I was about to become a musician professionally, and then I was about to become a theologian, and then I was really enthusiastic in studying theology, but then I realized I didn't want to become any kind of religious minister or anything like that. So then I went back to study music in the university as musicologist, and so that's something I also did a lot of. And I actually it's kind of funny. In Finland, we in the 90s and early 2000s, when I was at the university, we still had a system where it was possible to like go from different subjects to completely different subjects and study, and the studies were completely free, and they also gave you this kind of stipend to study. So I got money.
Those were the days, you know, when there was not yet,
studying.
you know, tens of thousands of whatever currency in student debt to even go there. But that's wonderful that you had that opportunity, and also from that Gemini background to really just go exploring. Oh yeah, and now I feel passionate about this one, and then at some point it doesn't resonate so much anymore, or you don't see the future potential of it, and then you go and do something else, which is, you know, wonderful. It's not like the linear I start this and therefore this is what I'm going to do kind of approach.
Yes, that has never worked for me.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
And but then how did you end up becoming a psychotherapist?
Yeah, well, I studied many different things in the university, like theology and musicology and classical languages and classical arts and literature and all kinds of things, and then at some point I became kind of anxious that I would need to like graduate from somewhere and have a education that would allow me to have the kind of work that would be something I really would like to do. So there was this kind of crisis, and I had kind of changed the thing that I was studying so several times already. So I had a kind of a for some years I thought I cannot do it again. But then through this kind of crisis, I decided that no, I really must do it again because I don't want to really have a job in any of those those areas I have studied. So
Mm-hmm.
and I had kind of grown into the strong idea and strong feeling that what I really want to do is to be able to kind of work with people, like in a personal relationship, and help them. And I was very interested in all things psychology. Also, although I hadn't studied it like at the university still, but that's something I kind of knew it for a couple of years before I made the decision that if there's something I want to have a job as, it would be as a therapist. So then I went to study psychology, and that was the first time I really had started studying with the goal of really graduating and going to get a job out of it. So it went quite fast after that. I had the degree in just like 4 years. So then I became psychologist, and I really loved doing that. And it happened to be in a phase of life where I was really kind of working myself out of religion, if you could say so. And I, for several reasons, many of those related to those theological studies, I had arrived to a point where I kind of was certain inside that the religion as it was, as I had learned it in the childhood, and as those congregations were presenting it, wasn't the truth, and I didn't want to be part of that.
Yeah, your Sagittarius moon kicked in there, certainly. Is this the truth? I mean, there's obviously always truth at the core of every religion, but I assume here what you're referring to is more the organized religious context that you had found yourself in from childhood, and then
Yes, exactly.
that was what you knew, and therefore you considered that as an option. And then at some point the realization came in, hang on, there's something not quite resonating anymore.
Actually,
which
there
is
was
obviously happening.
many things not resonating. So
yeah.
both intellectually and on the feeling side also. So
Yeah, that's amazing. I wanted to just quickly ask here, Ville, because that is such an interesting and literally quintessential Gemini life story that you're telling us here. Have you, when you studied the course 2 about the timelines and timeline of our lives and transits, have you done some kind of backwards research of what cycles or timeline phases you might have been in? Also, when you mentioned that crisis that you went through, that sounds like a Saturn reality check of some kind that might have happened there. But I don't know. But I
you're
found
correct.
that is such a fascinating thing to do once one starts understanding this, and then actually doing one's own biographical research along the timeline and transits phases.
Yes. I would say it was a process of pretty significant length that kind of ended on the Saturn return. Because if you look at my chart, you can see that my Saturn is almost exactly 16 degrees of Leo, and then I have like my Mercury is 25 25 or near to 26 Libra, and then I have my Sun at 3 Scorpio, and then I have my Mars at 12 Scorpio. So the Saturn kind of worked all those points before it got to return. So that's at least one way of looking at it, and then there has been also different Uranian and Neptunian initiations.
Wow. And for how long have you been working in your own practice as a psychotherapist now?
Well, as a psychotherapist, I have been
Like a psychologist.
Yeah, I started as psychologist in 2008. So from there on, I have been working as a therapist, but then being a psychotherapist is kind of it's still a different title. You must do additional studies to get be a psychotherapist. So that has come later, but my work has kind of been within the therapy mostly since 2008.
So my most burning question now, Ville, is obviously, as you had already at some point such a full and varied life, I suppose that your family also grew around all of that, and it's not just, by the way, it's not just a sideline in your life. I know that one about you. But what then brought you to astrology, and specifically to the Turning of the Ages Mystery School? That really is my question here.
Yeah, and it's a very good question. Because, well, I said I had this phase when I worked myself out of religion and out of religious worldview, like I had done that all of my life, but there was a certain point where there was no going back. So part of that process was like trying to establish this kind of a scientific worldview. It's something I really tried to do, like this materialistic worldview. And I really worked for it for several years, actually. And it never kind of completely worked out. I actually have studied very much of scientific cosmology and physics and all kinds of those things. I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of what the science is saying, and it never resonated in a way that you could say it would give you like explanations for things. Like the science describes the material nature quite well, but it doesn't describe anything that's outside of the material nature. And I'm sure we both know, and probably our listeners know, that the material nature is certainly not everything there is.
Absolutely, which is, then lovely that somewhere deep inside yourself you felt, no, oh gosh, and again, it's the Sagittarius moon there. I want to understand, I want to know, I want to find the truth. And you went this way and that way, and none of that really resonated. So eventually you had to find a middle path, a synthesis where science and I wouldn't call it religion, but spirituality in some point meet, and how that actually really interlaces with each other.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly how I feel it. It has gone and what has been my like conscious work for many years now. So within my work, I became like an expert on this one psychotherapy paradigm, which is called dialectical behavior therapy. And it's very interesting therapy because it kind of does exactly what we just were talking about. It takes the behaviorism, which is kind of the materialistic way to approach human behavior, and it combines it with this mindfulness-based approach of I would say spirituality, although the founder of this therapy method doesn't really say it that way.
Which is understandable if you want to be accepted in the scientific, psychological world. You better don't mention spirituality at all.
But the founder of this method is actually, she's a Zen master, so she's certainly not stranger to spirituality. So.
Yeah, amazing. But I can already kind of sense the trajectory that then led to the specific TOTAMS astrological paradigm, because obviously that is what provides this kind of blueprint of the soul's intentions for this lifetime on the spiritual level, but also in what we call the three worlds approach. So it's very much down to earth. One can really use it and embody it in day-to-day life.
Yes, exactly.
In beautiful ways. Yeah, but carry on. So I still haven't dug down to how you got there.
Yeah. So then I had this kind of crisis that it actually culminated during my Neptune square, where I kind of had to accept the fact that, because years before I had kind of made a promise to myself that I will never again be like taken over by this religious type of thinking. So, but then I gradually had to kind of become into realization that there is the spiritual side of things, and it's actually primary to the material nature. And so I went through this kind of new kind of crisis, during which I found actually several different spiritual avenues to research, but the most important at that early point was theosophy. And I kind of one day found the secret doctrine of H.P. Blavatsky and started reading it, and it kind of blew my mind, and so that started my very intensive study into theosophical ideas and thinking for several years, where I became part of this theosophical school that's based on Alice Bailey kind of theosophy, from where the esoteric astrology also comes from. But then I reached a point where I was kind of, the thing that didn't really resonate with me was that the whole idea within that paradigm is that for everybody the goal or purpose in life is kind of to evolve kind of away from this material earth. and that didn't quite completely resonate with me. So I didn't continue working on that school. And then I'm actually not sure how much time there was in between, but after some time I found saw Daniel in one of it was another astrologer's podcast where this other astrologer, I can't recall her name, I'm sorry, but she was interviewing Daniel about the shamanic astrology paradigm. And I had been studying astrology for several years already, very intensively from like evolutionary astrology paradigm and that esoteric astrology and also traditional medieval astrology and some other things also. So I had pretty good basis for astrology, and I had a goal of becoming a practicing astrologer also. But I had this feeling that I didn't have an astrological paradigm that would be, you could say, easy enough to use in practical work.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Because
totally
resonate. I had so much knowledge, and you could pick on so many things from any chart, but where could I find a kind of a template that would kind of give the guidelines on what to look for first and second and third, and then get the most important things out of the chart,
right,
one reading. And then I also had this kind of I don't know if I like to interpret Mars in that way, and I don't know if that interpretation of Venus really works for me, and this kind of ideas. And then I heard this podcast where Daniel was talking about shamanic astrology, and it kind of immediately hit me like, this really sounds like something I've been searching for.
Wow.
So I need to go investigate further.
Yeah, and with everything you've told us so far, it takes you just like a snap of a finger of time in order to grasp the entire thing.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And then your biggest challenge, if I may jokingly say that, might probably be that there's in the middle world such a thing as time, which you have to bridge in order to then get a certification. But for you, it would probably have been, because you also know all these other paradigms, you must literally be a walking library. I'm totally intrigued here, and fascinated. But for you, it feels like your mind is so agile and so vividly engaged and so streamlined also into grasping all the information, not piece by piece, but the entire structure plus piece by piece in a very, very short period of time. And I suppose that's what happened. You just got it, and then you did what was required to do the certification. And here we are. That's amazing. So you got foundationally certified, as I said, last year in was it April? Yeah, April in Oracle, Arizona, at our all school gathering. And I strongly suppose, excuse me, that you're now studying for full initiation. So the cosmology course that has now just really been newly released in its new iteration and fully revised. I'm studying that too, and I'm totally fascinated, even though I suppose you're way further in than I am, but never mind.
Yeah, I have actually studied those old courses
Yeah, I suppose.
Time
You
ago
went
already. So,
ahead and did
but there is, to become fully initiated, I've talked with Daniel about this. It's, you need to kind of be present for certain courses
Yes,
and
yes.
certain experiences. So that's coming sometime in the future.
Wonderful. And also do some kind of research project or thesis or something, which I suppose that you will have no shortage of topics to choose from, probably rather difficulty in which topic to choose.
Yeah, regrettably, yeah, too many things to choose from.
It's I mean, I'm laughing because it's also super quintessentially Gemini and Gemini rising. You know how that can be such a challenge for some people, Gemini rising. You know, because obviously. And that is also, it's my felt experience. The essence of Gemini is obviously to go beyond the gates of duality. And so it's almost my sense that you are coming from that indescribable realm beyond the gates of duality back into the realm of duality with all these different, incredibly varied possibilities, infinite possibilities, and then to pick what in that field of possibilities is most resonant with you and sits best with you. So that's quite an amazing living example you are here, of that, how that can work out really in the world, in a beautiful way that is not so much or not at all, as far as I can see. Obviously, you will be aware of the shadows of Gemini as well, or that Gemini rising. But um, if someone first leans into this energy, first learns about this archetype, there can be quite a few pitfalls as well, like going
Yes, I
not sticking
completely
with
agree.
anything, just jumping around for the sake of, oh, this is boring now. But you didn't do that. You tickled each one out until you came to the point where you didn't say, oh, this is boring, but no, hang on, this doesn't really resonate. I've really gone deeply into this, as deep as I needed to, in order to find out, is this really for me or is this not for me? And then you look, okay, so from here, what's next? And I find that really amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And in the end, everything kind of relates to everything. So so having studied these many different subjects, that they all connect. So then you can have a deeper understanding
Yeah, wonderful. So another topic that I really am excited to dive into with you here today is, recently Daniel has had to, and he's on the last final days of his round the world in, I think, 71 or 73 days trip.
Yeah.
So we've had the event in Kalanish, then he explored some Eastern European countries, and he also visited and got together with you in Finland, together with his wife Lynn. And I think part of the time you also spent together with our other Finnish colleague Jonna, and went adventuring. So I would love for you to share some of those adventuring tales with our viewers here. I know that you went to and beyond the Arctic Circle, which is still something that's on my bucket list. You also, when you wrote your email to me, I did notice that you signed it off with Love and Northern Lights, something like that. So you must have a lot of that. So tell us a bit about that.
It's kind of a Gemini thing, like so many people like put Love and Lights, so put Love and Northern Lights.
Yeah, even though, to be very honest, the northern lights are not very northern anymore these days. With the solar activity, they're reaching into much more southern latitudes and are visible in so many places. Even here in the UK, even though mostly due to geoengineering, the skies are shut here most days. There's hardly anything to be seen, but still, they're not quite northern lights, but still most spectacular, I suppose, and most easily to be seen in those high northern latitudes where you are. So yeah, tell us a bit about those adventures.
And the northern lights are a plasma phenomena, so it kind of connects also in these things. So it has even more deeper meaning than.
Oh yeah, no, I'm also very aware of that. You know, the amount, or not amount, I wouldn't say the amount from, and I'm not a researcher. You know, I don't research things. I feel things, and then or I just say, oh, this is how I feel this. And so the way I feel this is that the quality of plasma that's coming into the planet is changing and shifting dramatically and drastically and impacting us, our physical bodies, our emotional, mental, spiritual makeup, and even the DNA as human beings in ways we have not even grasped.
We are on the verge of like academical science having to admit it also.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm
Trying
looking
to
forward to that.
not talk about it, but it's happening.
Big shifts coming. Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, now me, I should listen to you, and I would love to.
Yeah, so I had the lovely opportunity to travel with Daniel and Lynn for 8 days in Finland. So we visited some of the places. One of the places was this so-called Lemminkäinen's temple, which is near Helsinki, southern Finland. It's a place that Daniel has had on his bucket list, so to speak, from already from the 80s. It's a very mysterious place that has a deep mythology behind it. We probably don't have time to go into it, but there's this saga that is a kind of a saga of the history of the world, where this place has a significant role in the saga, and so Daniel has for many years wanted to visit there, and so we visited there, and it just happened that when we were leaving there's this guy near on a rock like 50 meters from us, and he's yelling, "Hey, who are you? Can you wait for a second? I'm coming there." And we were like, we should be going already, but okay, let's see what this guy has in mind. And so he comes and presents himself that I am one of the persons who participated in the archaeological digs here in the 90s when they did some digging, and I was part of that group, and I actually was the last person who nurtured the guy who owned the place and who was the author of the saga. Like it was his family's story from generation to generation, and he published it because he was the last member of the family. So very, very key person for that site, and then this guy who comes like, yeah, I was the one who nurtured this Eorbok, who was the giver of the saga, and I have his things after he died and all this. So we met the person who was probably the most deeply involved person for that place still alive.
Wow. I mean, that's just incredible that he even, shouted across to you, hey, wait, he could have said, these are just any other people walking around there, right? I mean, that's another one of those magical miracles. I'm hoping that Daniel will also relay those stories to us one day, but that's really incredible. Is there any kind of maybe an online resource that you can that you can share, so we can put them maybe in the show notes below, and any kind of website one can look at to learn a little bit more, or a book
about
about
this
this
place.
specific site, because it sounds really fascinating.
Yeah. Well, there's actually even a book written in English.
Mm-hmm.
It's called The Book Saga.
The book, just the
B-O-C-K.
book saga.
Bock, B-O-C-K.
Oh,
Bock.
Bock. Mm-hmm. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll try to figure that
Means
out.
that
I might put
Bock means a goat.
Oh, Bock. Yeah, no, that's German. Yeah, Bock means
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in German also. Yeah.
Awesome. Mm.
Yeah. So and actually this guy who we met has a Substack, and I saw it. I haven't had time to read through his work, but he has a lot of stuff there. And
Wow.
but the book saga is the key word if you want to.
Amazing. Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay, so that was one of the magical things there. Then we went to our cottage for a couple nights and stayed there in the nature, and then we drove to the north from the Arctic Circle also eventually, and I took them into a few of the places that I have visited now yearly there. There is this one magical lake called Pakasaivo. It's this very mysterious lake that's not very big, but it carries a lot of mythology about being a portal to the underworld, and it's a really magical place, and we visited there and some other places. But I'd actually like to hear Daniel give his.
I will poke him and dig in with him as well, I'm sure. I mean, Daniel loves to relay his travel stories as well. And
it seemed to me that Daniel and Lynn both were really enjoying.
Oh yeah, I know that, from everything I've been in conversation with both of them since then. It was their absolute favorite part of their travels, and then at least in Europe.
And not least like the pristine nature there. Like when you go above the Arctic Circle in Finland, it's like you get this feeling of this being kind of a source.
Yeah.
If you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
All those rivers and this very little people, not there are villages here and there, but mostly the nature is kind of untouched, and it's really magical place.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I hope one day you might organize a retreat or a group, or we do an all-school gathering up in Finland. I would personally certainly be game for that.
Yes, yeah.
That would be really fantastic. Okay, Ville. So, I mean, we have gone on in time here, but I still really would like to know, first of all, where can people reach you if they so want to? Do you have a website? I mean, like for instance, if someone wants to pick you out as a mentor, certainly they can always go via your listing on the TOTAMS Astrologer site. So on our website, Ville, like almost every other Turning of the Ages Mystery School astrologer, has a listing there, and there are contact details in there that you can use. But do you also have a website or any other resource that you would like to direct people to?
Well, I think that listing is probably the easiest way to contact, because all the relevant info is found there. I do have a website. It's completely in Finnish.
Yeah, well, that's probably Auntie Google allows us to translate things, so we can put that. But you can email that to me. I can put it in
I think it's also in the listing there. So
okay, so we can direct people to the listing. And so really, my final question that is almost not almost always, but sometimes my most favorite question: is there anything that's going on in the overall astrology of things that you would like to comment on, or that you would like to make people aware of, or that's specifically impactful for you in any way?
yeah, well, there's an endless number of things I could bring up here, but I think that one of the most important points I feel like sharing in these kinds of situations is to remind people that we are within a turning of the ages. So it's not ended yet.
Yeah.
And we will be having interesting years, at least several years coming up. And I'm many of the things I'm currently researching also relate to how so many things are coming, like that have been hidden from us, that are coming to the surface now, and have been doing that for some years already. And I think it's getting speed all the time. So more and more things are coming to the surface, and it's also astrologically like it's the turning of the ages. We are ready for this new knowledge and new points of view, and the world is having this, you could say, kind of a crisis. Like, so many things are happening that you could feel very fearful of, but also you can feel it as being a kind of an opportunity to grab new things and find out new things to learn, and really kind of evolve to the next level of whatever it is you're supposed to evolve to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, yeah, according to this body of knowledge of the Turning of the Ages Mystery School, this Turning of the Ages, the key time period of that is 1962 to 2034. So those 72 years, which equals 1 degree in the precessional cycle. So, and I have recently been reminded of what I call the last mile syndrome. So, the closer you come towards the end of a cycle, not always, but sometimes, the more difficult it becomes to go on in good spirits. You become more exhausted, and it's like, oh, this is never gonna end. This is awful, this is horrible, and you can easily get into a very tight space. So maybe we are kind of inching towards the last mile syndrome, but definitely everything that we are doing with the Turning of the Ages Mystery School, and the way this paradigm assists people in finding and inhabiting, embodying their own place on the wheel, that certainly makes it easier to keep going through what I totally agree with you, Ville, will probably be not the easiest years in human history, but at the same time, we're here, and I assume that we're here for good reason, and have all chosen to follow that call to incarnate exactly at this time of the Turning of the Ages, and to, in one way or the other, which is how I see myself contributing, make just meaningful contributions to this turning of the ages. So you are certainly doing that. I would, love to learn more from you, about you. In the future, meet you again at any of our in-person events that are upcoming, and some are coming up. I hope you will find the time, make the time to join us at any of them. And thank you so much for joining. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we wrap it up here today?
Well, I could just say that concerning that, the idea of difficult years coming up, it's so important to remember that in the end there's nothing to be fearful of.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic final word, Ville. Thank you so much. And we'll see you again somewhere within our school very soon. And thank you everybody for tuning in here and watching. We'll come to you again with a new episode of the Seed People Spotlight in a month's time. Bye for now.